Fish on. Fish on. That's a beautiful fish. Beautiful fish. Hi, I'm Willie Bryson. Today I'm going to try to show you how to tie a fly you've probably never seen before. I learned how to tie this many years ago by a friend of mine who called it a grasshopper. Now, the grasshopper was nothing like the grasshopper flies you see today. So over the years, I've managed to make some changes to the materials being used in it and found that it has unbelievable success. I've caught brown trout, sea trout, rainbow, and even Atlantic salmon on this fly, all over Canada, as well as England and Scotland. Now, as far as the name goes, over the years, grasshopper didn't represent this fly at all, so I really didn't have a name for it. When I was in Scotland, it developed a name, the Canadian fly. Well, it's not really a Canadian fly either. So I've ended up giving it the most ridiculous name I could ever think of, called the one and only. The reason I decided to call it that was simply because if I had to use only one fly every time I went fly fishing, I'd use this one because of the amount of success I've had over the years. So I hope you like it, and I hope you'll comment on, how it worked for you on the rivers wherever you are fishing. Thanks very much, and let's get to it. I'm going to start by taking a standard size 10 hook. Just insert it into the vise and snug it up. Using black thread, start at the eye of the hook. Take a few ties forward or turns forward and cut off the excess. Continue on all the way up to the back of the hook, keeping your turns nice and tight. And once you get to the barb, you can stop about there. Now just a regular red feather. I'm going to take several barbs from that for the tail. And just check to make sure that the distance is about where you want it. A few turns to tie in place. And then I trim off the excess just behind the eye of the hook. tie it all into place. Doesn't have to be tight turns, but just go right down towards the eye and then back up again towards the barb. That looks good about there. Now I'm going to take a rooster hackle. This is just a new one, so make sure I've got the right end. And then I'll trim off the front to get rid of that nasty piece at the front of it. Then tie it in place. A few turns. And just leave it sitting ready to go. And then take some yellow wool or yarn and tie that in at the same place. Trim off the excess behind the eye of the hook again, as before. And then just tie everything into place to keep it neat and tidy. Now I'm going to take my wool and wrap tight turns from the beginning of the tail all the way down to the eye of the hook. Take your time, make sure the turns are touching. And then once you get to the eye, just a few turns to hold it in place before trimming it off. A few more turns at the head of the fly to tie everything in. Then I take my hackle and do the same thing, trying to keep the spaces as even as possible. Now if you've tied the wool tight turns, you can actually match the grooves in the wool to keep the spacing the same with your hackle. Then again, once you get to the front, a few turns to tie it in place. And trim off the excess. As before, we want to add a few more turns to keep everything in nice and tight. Pulling the fibers of the hackle back and making a small head on the fly. Now we're going to take some deer fur. And we want to pick some of the smaller fibers because they're hollow and it'll help keep the fly sitting on top of the water. You don't want them too long. And then we'll just pull out all the smaller pieces and excess pieces that we don't need. Till we've got a nice little bunch. Trim off the front end to make it easier to tie in. And again, just drop any loose ones that you find. And tie it as a wing right behind the eye of the hook. Now, because it's sticking over the eye, I'm just giving this a little haircut. And it's not something I worry about, especially with the color white. With a black head, you can always take a magic marker and touch up any of the white that's showing, just to match the black head from the thread. I'm taking some Flashable. Usually I'll take 2 or 3 pieces and then fold it in half. Just like so. And match it to the length of your wing. And tie it in. As we've done before, trim off the excess. Pull everything back and then tie a head onto your fly. Ready for your whip finish. Cut off your thread. And there you have it. This is the one and only. A great fly for all kinds of trout and salmon. You can tie it in various sizes if you like. Thanks for joining me today tying my favorite fly, the one and only. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to see where I actually catch fish with this fly, please hit the follow tab and subscribe. And I'll show you some of the best fly fishing in the Maritime provinces. Thanks again. Have a great day. Take care and tight lines.